Hush, whiskey.
Hey guys, this is Beth and Jimmy. We're here on Smoking and Joking, and we've got Pat as our guest. Um,
There's that awkward silence.
I was waiting for Jimmy to kind of kick in there a little bit, but he's obviously looking at something.
Sorry, I was trying to make sure I had my script laid out for later.
Great.
Yes, this is Smoking and Joking. We've got Patrick. Say it again. Nelligan. Am I saying that right? Pat, hey.
Is he trying to say my last name, Beth?
I think he is. I think that's
Try to
where
read it
he's
off
going
my
with
read.
this one.
I've got something else up on the screen that's blocking it. So
Got it. It's Pat Nelligan.
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 Like
Like Bell.
He's here to tell us about all the wonderful things he's doing to help our veteran community. And organization that he's a co-founder of. And
Yeah, he's with Oculus, right?
Elpis.
Elpis, I'm sorry.
We'll get through it, Beth. No worries.
I know. I'm struggling here. I'm sorry, guys.
Yeah, he's with virtual reality, and so Pat, tell us. I know you were on here before and had talked about it, but refresh for anybody that's viewing their memories on what it is you're doing.
Yeah, excellent.
I think one of the sorry. I was gonna say like he's really taking a different approach, your organization, and I think it's gonna be amazing for you to kind of explain kind of how you guys got here and then also like what you found where like what data you took in to find out where these core issues because you guys are battling the 22 a day. And so we'd love to hear more about your organization and what you guys are doing.
Absolutely. And like we established last night, Beth, you and I are blessed with the gift of gab. So if I start and you want to jump in, you won't hurt my feelings because
Okay.
I'm pretty passionate about this stuff. So, yeah, I had a great visit with Tor a couple weeks ago, and for the ones that didn't make that, in a nutshell, I retired from the Army last March, 42 years, 3 weeks and 2 days total service. And my last assignment was Comanche Foreign Officer, 8th Comanche Foreign Officer of the Army Reserve. And in that role, part of my duties were obviously to get official correspondence. And it seemed like it was becoming almost weekly that I was getting, the critical incident reports, commanders' reports on Army reservists taking their own lives. And, being in the reserves for many, many years, active duty, you hear about suicide in the ranks, and it's tragic. But when you can actually put units and locations to then soldiers, it starts to really hit another level. And then to be in the leadership role where, I'm not ever concerned about telling somebody how I feel. And I did to anybody that would listen. This is absolute bullshit. Why aren't we doing something? Our soldiers are taking their own lives. And, we're focusing on a recruiting deficit. And it's like, well, shit, we can't even keep what we have in the ranks happy, coming to drill, wanting to be, not just soldiers, but alive, right? I mean, everything that comes with the responsibility of being an adult. So anyway, I was subjected to 2.5 years of this almost weekly agony of going, oh my God. And always kind of in the back of everybody's conversation is, well, the numbers aren't as bad as they were. And that's crap too. And as you said, Beth, with the 22 a day, what really is challenging is, I'm not a statistician, but I can tell you the number's way higher.
Oh yeah.
And when you take, like you were alluding to last night, somebody gets intoxicated to the point where they've lost their senses, their motor sensors, and they get in a car and drive, and they hit a bridge and they die. Were they drinking to excess because they were in so much pain and they just decided, screw it, this is the end of my life, that bridge looks promising, or any of the other things that could be started first?
Like overdosing or overtaking their meds.
Yeah. So think about those and the convenient way that they don't get accurately reported because nobody goes into the root cause. You just go, oh, well, they died in a car accident, or they died of an overdose, or they died of jumping off a bridge, whatever. So they roll it all into, we lost another soldier. But then, when you go back and you start hearing, the testimonials of the families on what was going on in these particular soldiers' lives, male and female, you hear a litany of things like, they were struggling financially, or they lost their job and, they couldn't pay their car insurance, or they lost their car, and, this saga. Well, that pushed them to the limit where they decided death was better than trying to get out of that funk. And the answer is, yeah, right. And it's always an and. So as I started to think about what I wanted to do after retirement, and mind you, I work for the VA. I'm a VA employee. I love my job. I love the location I'm in because I'm back in my home state. So a good chunk of the population coming in every day I've served with, I've known for years, professional military affiliation. So I get to see our team and I see a lot of broken people, a lot of broken spirits, a lot of pain, agony, and health issues that the regular population has, but it's exacerbated by the fact that most of these are attributed to them serving. So, had they not joined, would they have gotten, the typical ailments they have? I don't know. But I know everyone that's coming into the VA for healthcare, something happened, or they wouldn't be able to get healthcare at the VA. So with all that together, I retired and I reached out to a very good friend of mine who's also still a serving warrant officer in the Army Reserve and said, we've got to do something. And we started formulating like what our strategy would be. And what's really unique about him, Courtney Marshall. So he has the unique name of, every time I say it, people think it's some kind of UCMJ thing. But anyway, what brings a unique aspect to Court participating with me, the fact that almost 3 years ago, this Easter will be 3 years, Court's active duty son was struggling, and after a night of some marital issues, decided to take his own life with a handgun. So Court started this journey of trying to be a soldier while still dealing with the death, not just a family member, but a son who was currently serving. So it was like the 1-2 punch. So Court didn't need any convincing to come along in this journey with me. But what we started doing was thinking like warrant officers. And for your audience that, either doesn't know what a warrant officer is or it's been a while, we're considered the technical experts of the Army. We fly the helicopters, we're in the special forces, we're the signal, crypto, cyber, all of those things. So we looked at it and said, okay, what if we lined up experts in all of the things we're hearing that push people down that path of no return? How do we fix somebody financially? So we found a guy. His name's Charlie Epstein, Mr. 401k. Very, very, very successful, been doing it 40 plus years. And we found him in an interesting way. But we asked him, actually, I challenged him on a call, and I'm like, look, if you don't help us get military members back on their feet financially, they're going to take their own lives, because we've seen, say, financial issues are a big component of why people kill themselves. So I guilted shamed him into being a part of the team, and he took it upon himself to, immediately start on creating a financial program for anybody that's in the Elpis Alliance program, he guarantees you'll be out of debt, just following what he says. So we're like, okay, block checked. We got the finance done. Okay, what else? Well, there's a huge issue with fitness nutrition. Okay, so a lot of your listeners will know those TRX straps. They were invented by a guy named Randy Hetrick, Navy SEAL, and he has had a life journey that many of us, three of us combined, wouldn't have what he's gone through. But what's interesting is he's a survivor. He's brilliant, and he took his idea for a strap exercise out in the field to a multi-million-dollar company. Well, through a friend of a friend, I met him, started talking, gave him the pitch, and he said, well, I'm in. Okay, good. So block check. Now we got the smart fitness dude and help us with the nutrition. And so we started assimilating towards, well, if we get all the things that people are saying they're killing themselves over or attributed to why they've killed themselves, we can put this into a package like warrant officers and give them tailor-made, get well plans. But then through a very interesting, turn of events, and by the way, Elpis, I know you and Jimmy know this, but Elpis, for your listeners, is Greek for hope. Because as you're trying to come up with, what's your mission statement, what's your journey, what do we really want to do? And the answer is simple. We want to give everybody that's struggling the no shit, there's always hope. No matter how bad it gets, there's always hope. And if you don't believe it individually, come be with us, get the team approach, and then we will have the opportunity to show you what we're talking about. So now we start the journey, right? And like I was talking to you and Jimmy last night, we went from compiling all of these things that would be solutions to then realizing we collect this data. We're human. We're guys that put data together. And Court's one of those Six Sigma sensei, so he knows how to really understand data. Me, I'm a kumbaya guy. I'll give you a hug, tell you it's okay, and we'll kind of go on the journey together. But anyway, we realized we needed to get something much bigger. So we started going down a design plan. Court did. I just went along for the ride on building AI into working with all this data so that when we start to show we're fixing people, we will actually have this proven by running AI models to come back and go, look, Beth said her checkbook had $2 for 6 months in a row, and it pushed her to an extreme. But that's the journey we were on. But what made it interesting was around September of last year, October, I went to visit my dentist, who's just, a rock star, phenomenal person, really has a big heart for veterans. And we started talking about the Elpis journey, and she reminded me of something she had shared with me a couple of years ago, which was she sits as a huge benefactor to an organization called the Quell Foundation, Quell. And their goal is to go after suicides with first responders, police, fire, EMS, and work on how that could make their lives better. And what they were able to do, which is incredible, is get huge donations to offer anybody that has come through that gauntlet and lived. So either got to the point they gave up hope or actually attempted and didn't succeed, thank goodness. They give them 4-year scholarships to go get their degrees in mental health. Because part of their therapy thesis is, well, if we had more mental health providers, perhaps they would have given you the help you needed so you wouldn't have gone down that rat hole. Why don't you be part of the solution set because you were spared to keep people from going down that rat hole like you did? Well, I approached the founder of that and I was like, okay, you're a Navy dude, which he was. Why aren't you going after the armed forces? And his niche was those demographics. So I was kind of like, All right, well, I wish you the best of luck. And then I went on my way, went back to being command chief. Well, my dentist reminds me about that organization. And then I start talking to her about, the depth of what we're looking for solution sets based on what we thought were symptoms. And she shares with me something ironic, which was, did you know dentists single handedly have the biggest impact in diagnosing any abnormalities of the head affecting sleep? And I said, I didn't know that. I figured you'd go to the doc and during a physical, say,
Right. I wouldn't have thought that either. I wouldn't have thought that. I wouldn't have thought that at Dennis either, as far as that
yeah,
goes. I wouldn't have put that correlation
yeah.
together.
So, her call to arms is because she's a rock star dentist. She was like, not only did we do a full exam before we do your cleaning and if you come in for dental care, at one point they were actually doing your vitals. So you'd get your blood pressure, pulse oximetry, your temp. Why, you ask? Well, because if you're a diligent, healthy human, you go to your doc once a year. If you really stay on top of dental, you go for cleaning twice a year. So the premise was they could actually diagnose earlier on high blood pressure, hypertension, any type of, you got a fever just because you're going to the dentist. But like we've seen, and I say this tongue in cheek because, you never know who your listeners are, the insurance industry wouldn't reimburse for that particular thing. So they stopped the
But
vitals,
yeah,
but they kept the exam because it was, it's literally 5 minutes of just, well, all of a sudden you get this, what is that? Well, and then she starts on her whole sleep, like foot stomp sleep. If you don't get sleep because you have, airway obstruction, if you don't get sleep because you have toothaches, if you don't get sleep because you broke your nose, you have a deviated septum, if you don't get sleep. And she gave me this dissertation on what they look for that has an impact on sleep. And then it came to, and then a lot of her patients, because of sleep deprivation, have had just a shitstorm of an experience in life. They're the ones without
mhm.
jobs. They're the ones without, financial stability at all. And these weren't veterans. Like there was a component of her patients that are veterans, but this was the community. So as I asked more questions, it really started getting me down that path of, could it be that simple? And not to sound really kind of demeaning to any
But
of the,
you're more of the technical guy. You want to look at all the variations.
yeah, like, okay, the airplane won't get off the ground, right? And they're telling me, is the tire working? Does it have jet engines on it? Whatever. And I go in and go, well, does it have fuel? Right? Let's go for like simple and see if everything is a cause and effect from the most obvious. Well, no shit. Here we go. I hear about this, and we start doing some like easy dives into look at the military community. Jimmy joins the Marines, and the very first day he shows up, you know, Paris Island, guess what? Starts his journey in sleep deprivation because that's what we do. And we tell you through false bravado and machismo, you suck it up and you drive on. And again, this is 42 years of playing that game, and I hate not sleeping, but I can tell you some pretty funny stories now retrospectively. Like I remember being in Germany and we used to do this thing back in the 80s called Reforger, where the Russians were the bad guys the first time and we were all worried they were going to come through the Fulda Gap. So we do this yearly exercise where we go, all the preposition points, and they kept us awake for 72 straight hours to simulate a battle with the Russians that we were like the speed bumps to stop them until forces came from the United States. And we were young enough to still find the humor in how absolutely jacked up our bodies got and how flew what we were doing. For example, we used to put the chemical suits on and go into Mop 4, right? Because the Russians were going to gas us. And we would still have to function. And I was in field artillery, so we would literally be on the gun line loading rounds to fire while you could literally see people going in this zombie trance. So my funny story, to kind of give you the example of what we stuck our military with, the old 5-gallon cans of diesel fuel. That's how we used to fill the generators to keep power in for the communications. I watched a guy literally standing there, and he was in full mop, so you couldn't see his face, pouring a can of fuel, and fell asleep, where then it overflowed the generator, went down the hatch into the section where everybody was doing the plotting for the field artillery rounds, and they're doing this, trying to get the gas out, and he's still sleeping like this, locked in. So I use that visual to give your audience an understanding. We all have our stories. I know we all have our stories on what we've seen military members do, sleep deprived. But then you get into the tragic side of it, which is a lot of things that, were written off with just bad judgment. How much of that was due to sleep deprivation? Who knows, right? But now
Right.
let's compound it into what we were talking about last night, Beth, which is you come out of this culture where we all practice sleep deprivation because it's forced on us, and we all learn to survive because we all rely on each other. And especially with the last 20 years of going to war, what Jimmy and Tor went through, they were battle buddies. So even though they were both out exhausted and, life sucked, they weren't going to let each other down. So the bond that they had to get through this deprivation and all the other shit that they saw combat, then they get out of the military, and that whole network is gone. So, we did studies. I'm sorry?
I was just saying, right.
Yeah. So we did some studies on, and it was easy. It was just going in and looking at VA data from, the first like 5 to 8 years of the war. When people were coming back, nobody could really understand the trauma they had seen. So the VA was more than willing to give all kinds of, unique pills and medicines to put you into the Thorazine shuffle and whatever else that would hide the reality of you've got some serious issues, mental health issues, physical ailments, you're in pain, chronic pain, just take more pills. So now we've got an addicted veteran population. They didn't get better, and then they can't handle that anymore. So the spiral starts. So anyway, when you lose your support network and you've already had yourself set up for all the other things that come with post deployment, maybe you got divorced, maybe you made some bad choices and you got in trouble with the law. The question was, why are we so messed up as 20 years of war? When you go back and you look at your grandfather, your uncles through World War One, World War Two, Korea, whatever, and you realize culturally they had a completely different life than we did growing up. And now, most importantly, as we talked again, Beth, and I'll finish this call tonight with talking about the different iterations we're going to look at for the product Elpis is putting out. But you look at how many people are on social media and addicted to television, etc., watching movies, Netflix, binge watching Netflix. They're not sleeping. So all of this came to talking to Dr. Metasti, my dentist. I get to meet this guy, Jim O'Brien. He's an MD, and he's a specialist, the expert in the Northeast on sleep issues. And he starts to tell me that everything we were putting together, Court and I, for symptoms to fix, were all based on, in his professional opinion, these people aren't sleeping. Start there. No kidding. Don't do another thing until you get them properly sleeping again. Because chronic sleep deprivation not only affects all the things we're talking about with suicide, but it's clinically linked to high blood pressure, hypertension, cancer, kidney disease. Let's fill out the laundry list. And what do we do as a society? Oh, you got kidney disease, so we're going to put you on dialysis. Well, how the hell did you get? So this guy's out there with the flag going, go to sleep, get some sleep, get a lot of sleep, get healthy sleep, learn how to sleep so you've got some, patterns that get you well rested. And I told you this story last night. I'll leave out the rank this time because it's us talking to a bigger crowd. But I showed him a picture of one of our teammates who's very well respected, very, very high rank. And he's also doing some stuff under his company where he's invented a pillowcase that can actually do an EEG, brainwave scanning, without putting the cone in the wires on your head. You just literally sleep on a pillowcase and everything transmits. Well, anyway, this Dr. O'Brien was fascinated that this is happening. So he wanted to see who the guy was, my friend. And he goes, that guy sucked his thumb as a child. Like,
I was waiting for this, and then we'll hit commercials after you saw. I was gonna circle around back to the dentist and this thumb sucking. So yeah, drop this a little bit of knowledge.
so I said, you do know who he is and what he was. And he goes, oh yeah, but he sucked his thumb as a child. And I go, doesn't everybody? He goes, no, he continued. And I said, well, how do you know that? And he goes, look at his face. It's narrow. And I go, I thought that was just like, skinny, tall. Nope. He says, I can spot him a mile away. Chronic thumb sucking literally changes the palate when it's still soft and, 1-2 years old, to the point where if the parents didn't intervene, now you've permanently damaged your palate. So as you get older, you're naturally predisposed to have sleep issues. And no kidding.
I personally intervened in that process really early on, and it was not for those reasons. It was just purely for sleep. I took the binky away as soon as we got home from the hospital, tossed it in the trash, and my kids slept at least that 3 hours. So, but I'm glad I at least helped him in some way.
Yeah, and so you did an intervention, and you had no reason to understand how good a thing you did. And
Right.
I'm not.
I can pat myself on the back now.
Yeah, and knowing what you guys have on the Facebook and what Tor's, planned for this podcast, we're not going out and telling parents to dump the binkies. What is the true uniqueness of this guy? The fact that he can look at a picture and he's so good at what he does. He knows that you've ruined your palate because you were sucking your thumb and your face is the telltale sign. Well, anyway, that leads to
let Jimmy just jump in real quick with the commercials.
Yeah, I'm gonna read these commercials out real quick because I'm not as proficient yet as Tor and Anthony were at just spouting it all out off the top of my head, and then we'll read a few comments as well. Smoking and Joking Show is brought to you by Vest 365 and a few of their partners as far as it goes. Artias is your preferred solution provider. They are a veteran-led global conglomerate pioneering innovative and sustainability. They exist to empower veterans with purpose, dignity, and transformative opportunities. If you want to make money selling your products and services to the U.S. government, go to YESRTS.com. It's also brought to you by AMCJ Fitness. AMCJ Fitness is going to have you healthy and strong, mentally and physically. Reach out to Anthony Charpentier Jr. at amcjfitness@gmail.com for all of your fitness needs. And then Ralphie and Con has their company. There's nothing wrong with beautifying yourself, and Ralphie and Connie, owner of Dare Essentials, or Dare Essentials Beauty, wants you to know that whether it's makeup, hair, or dressing right for a special occasion, reach out to Dare Essentials on Instagram for the perfect beauty advice.
Which Jimmy's been a long-time client of.
Yes. Yeah, gotta get my hair did. Vets 365 serves veterans through exceptional advice. They're a resource hub that specializes in business development for service-disabled veterans and housing resources. Go to VETS vets365.org for more information. Vets365, serving those who served. And if we could remind the watchers, if you could like and subscribe and show support for the channel through clicking the. Trying to figure out which way to point here.
You're pointing in the right direction. You got it.
There you go. The QR code up there in the corner. Like and subscribe. We'd greatly appreciate it. And then going back on some of the stuff you talked about, reading through these comments. When we first started, Lance McElhaney came in and he was talking about being a command chief warrant officer and getting to tell people, the shit they don't want to hear, especially higher ups in the chain of command and whatnot. He had said it's difficult to learn how to appreciate the big green weenie. Tor said hi to Lance. Tor also said that warrant officers are like unicorns. Lance McElhaney said, "Why is the show whitewashed now?" I'm guessing it's because Beth and I took over for Tor and Anthony and all them, and so Tor's response was, "Lance McElhaney, Jimmy is black from the waist down." I won't confirm or deny, but Lance McElhaney responded with, "Oh yeah, I forgot." Tor said my daughter told me the tooth fairy gave her money for a lost tooth. I told her, let's go knock people's teeth out because that means we're getting money. That's one way to go about it. Lance McElhaney said, in conjunction with him saying that he had forgotten, Lance McElhaney also said that I haven't shown it to him in a while. Alabama, sorry. Stopped in, said hello, everyone. Let's see, where am I at here? I scrolled too far. Lance said hi to Lanny. Tor said, uh-oh, Alabama's in the building, big boy. Alabama responded with training Ninja Turtles. Tor asked him if he was Master Splinter now. And Lanny responded with, he's reached a higher degree of, and then cut off. Lance McElhaney said that Tor is April O'Neil. Lanny, Alabama. I keep messing that up. My apologies, Lanny. Said he's Betty Boop. Lance said, I slept one time in 2015. That should be enough to last. Tor said, I've slept like a baby ever since I broke up with my ex-wife. I'm not worried about someone killing me in my sleep. That'd be one way to ensure a good night's sleep.
Definitely. Well, every dude sleep too.
Tor said, at Lance McElhaney, someone said you slept on Firewatch. Tor asked, is it only sucking thumbs that damages palates?
So I don't. Those three could probably go all night. So I'm not really sure what you. I probably would put that on your Facebook page with another couple different versions of that, right, Beth?
Exactly. For sure.
Keep this one.
I did like what you were talking about, like, when we were talking last night, talking about the sleep and how that reaches back after we got a phone. I started thinking, and like, for instance, pain. People who are in chronic pain, they're not sleeping. And I kind of watched my dad after a diagnosis where he wasn't sleeping at all, and it really made him kind of teeter on like a little bit of like his bipolar was like totally inflamed, and was, he was really up and down, picking fights. So I can definitely see where, if just from the beginning, if you're not getting sleep, how quickly it can spiral out
Okay.
and getting to those darker places and
Yeah.
affect other parts of your life, which also push you to those darker places. So it all does kind of like a roadmap lead from the starting point.
Yep. Yep. So,
Personal,
um,
personal experience there for you, real quick, Pat. I don't remember dreams, so it's not nightmares necessarily that keeps me up or kept me up in the past as far as it goes. But right after I'd gotten hit, when I was still at Walter Reed, I would go, like you said, sometimes 72 hours or more without sleep. And it's not like it was because I was on some sort of training mission or whatever. I was either laid up in the hospital bed or at the motel or hotel that was there on base that they would put you in as an outpatient. And I would go sometimes 4 days without sleeping. For me, at that point, it was the tinnitus ringing in my ears.
Yep.
I tried sleeping meds, I tried white noise, I tried fans, I tried all sorts of stuff or whatever, and it led to a point where I wouldn't say that I was an alcoholic, but I was definitely going out and drinking more than I should have, just so that I could go back and go to sleep based off of that. It took me a while to learn to tune the tinnitus out, so to speak, and I leave a TV on it and as something to concentrate to, and am able to utilize that as a form of background noise, and I'm able to go to sleep. But there for a while, my mental health and or just attitude in general wasn't always the best because of the lack of sleep for several days. And then I would pass out for 18, 20 hours.
and I wish in one respect that was a unique story because it's your story, but no kidding. You've just talked about like a huge chunk of the people we're reaching out to,
Yep.
because you made it through that gauntlet in your own unique way. But look at the end result now. You're sleeping. It may not be quality like we want everything to end up with, but I want to go back. I'll finish that funny story, Beth, with the
Okay.
kind of the Jimmy piece to it. So this guy had professed to me before the doctor even called him out for being a thumbsucker as a kid, that how he gets to bed every night is 2 bourbons and an Ambien, and still doesn't sleep. Does what you did, Jimmy. But he's awake. Well, he's got chronic pain. He just had a total knee replacement. Back's all jacked up from jumping out of airplanes. But he's also an entrepreneur, and this pillowcase jerk on. He can't turn his brain off. He's constantly solving shit and trying to do, making this thing work. So, having been predisposed to having an anatomical feature that causes him to sleep wrong for his entire life, give or take, he's been coping all along. and then you add 30 plus years of military service in good and bad environments. No wonder he can't sleep. But more importantly, he doesn't even know how bad he has it. So to Jimmy's point, Beth, he found a way to tune out the tinnitus that like 90% of us have, me included. And when that sucker hits, man, I can't focus on anything else because it's just one of those incredibly. I'm asking my wife, "You hear that?" She's like, "What are you talking about?" Okay, there it goes, and I'm off in my bout of it. But all of this leads to instead of trying to figure out, like we do as good military members, how to adapt and overcome, what I realized after finally, getting the epiphany of I'm going to change my whole narrative on where we go with this to let's just get on a journey to get people to sleep. The other thing that I took away from my first meeting with this doctor was, Beth, these are just arbitrary numbers, but you need 7.5 hours of sleep. Jimmy, you need 6. How do you know? I don't. But what we do with this sleeps like journey that we put you on is figure out what your no shit DNA designed body needs for real, honest to God, REM sleep and all those deep sleep things. And that gets into the next iteration of if you have anatomical issues that we can fix however they fix them, I'm not a sleep doc, to get you to sleep. There becomes this like journey of healing to then when you wake up, it's not because you had sleep apnea and you damn near choked yourself because your tongue slipped back, but you woke up because you're all better. You got your sleep. And the other thing that's interesting about what the guy with the pillowcase is coming up with is in an EEG, they look at alpha, beta, gamma, and theta waves. And if you've seen anything on Facebook or some of the social media, theta seems to be the secret wave. And they go into like statistically 90% of Americans never get into the state of getting the theta wave triggered, fired. And I'll talk about music or particular frequencies. I don't know any of that shit. All I know is if you're not sleeping, start with that, you're never going to get the theta wave because you're not sleeping.
Right.
So we all come, this thing just round robins right back to you're never going to have any hope if you can't get out of your own funk. And you can't get out of your own funk till you go back to the very root cause now that we've bet our entire reputation, journey, and everybody that we partner with to buy into, which is we're going to figure out why you can't sleep. And we're going to do it in a military way instead of looking at it in the civilian doctor community where you go see a sleep specialist. The dentists are our first line of attack. So we're rallying around. We put a survey out based on questions from my partner, Court, who the Six Sigma guru knows how to create questions that give all kinds of kind of empirical data.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Pat,
yes.
Pat, sorry to cut you off. Just wanted to let you know. If we can summarize a little bit of it as far as it goes over the next 3-4 minutes.
Yep.
And then I'm going to do another quick round of comments. And I promised we'd get to the game portion of the show as well. So we've got some bad advice that we need to get from you.
Okay. So Elpis is based on the fact we're giving a questionnaire out, which we've already done. We reached out to 600 veterans as our sample group. We got a pretty decent response out of the surveys. On the survey, a big component of it was, are you sleeping?
Right.
Are you sleeping? And then now that we've gotten the answers, we started the next iteration, which is on February 22nd. These veterans coming in for a 5 to 8 minute oral exam, sleep exam. Any type of abnormalities, the specialists are going to look at them, identify it, and then we're kicking off an 8-week beta test with the group that had sleep issues and other issues that I had outlined in the beginning. So hopefully, as you guys get spun up as hosts and, we get some sets and reps under your leg, I'm going to come back and I'm going to tell you how that beta test came out with both the sleep analysis and then, 8 weeks from beginning of March will be a good time frame to tell you what happened in the group. My prediction is it's going to be nothing short of magical because once we get
That's going to be awesome. Yeah, we definitely have to have you back once you have like, some of your study done and we can actually say, look, this is what we found out. Because I think that will be a killer show to be able to kind of see this.
And then, getting the clue from Jimmy to kind of wrap it up, what's going to make it magical and no shit above reproach is the AI program we built. So this first goes in and we all those data from the questionnaire. We'll be able to design for them not just their get well sleep, but all those other things that are available based on what particular issues were. In addition to not sleeping, they'll get their own get well plan out of it. And that's how we're going to be able to compound this, going against the suicide models that are out there. You sleep, we fix your problems because we're sleeping. Now go out and tell the world, and we'll just keep this. So more to follow, but I'll turn it back to you.
Real quick, just because when we was talking last night, I loved it as far as that goes. For anybody who doesn't know, tell them where the name comes from and what it means.
So Elpis is Greek for hope, and it came about because my partner Court, after coming out of that terrible tragedy with his son, wants to pay it forward and give other people the opportunity to not end up like his son did. And in my particular piece, 6 years ago, I was diagnosed with cancer from exposure downrange. Had my right upper lung removed. I had a bad year of the deployment and some other issues. And I've always felt that, whatever I've gone through this gauntlet and learned, I can turn that around to pay it forward so other people can realize if I went through this shit and I can come out of it and still want to keep moving forward, so can you. So the resilience component tied with what we keep looking to give people, hope, it was natural to just look at a word that, is unique enough where you're not going to forget it once you know what it means. And that's how we landed on Elpis.
Love that.
And that's what I love when you were talking about paying it forward, because that is a big, component in Jimmy and I's, reasons why we do. So I love that you saw an issue, whether it was something that, like your partner, it had directly affected suicide, but you saw an issue through your work, through these action reports. And a lot of people can, because of time, because of issues, because of whatever, say that's a horrible thing. But when you have somebody who said,
Right.
wow, this is horrible and I'm going to do something about it, what can I do? I definitely commend you 100% for that.
Thank you, Beth.
All right, going to some of the comments here. Forget where I left off. So Lanny Avalama at one point said that I guess when he crossed deck from the Corps over and joined the Army, he said he had his soldiers afraid to fall asleep.
I'm surprised Jimmy didn't start from a black man from the waist down comments and go up just to say that again.
The thought did cross my mind, but
know you too well.
Anthony Fleming said that he was it just moved on me. He was stationed in Fulda, did many tours as a border guard, so he knows all about sleep deprivation. That and had a sleep study done by the VA on a CPAP, but have a time keeping wearing it.
Wow.
Let's see. Lance McElhaney says, in response to the tinnitus, said he hears, I don't know if that's F major or F flat. I'm not sure what tone mine is as far as it goes. It's just loud as shit. Especially now that I've talked about it and I'm thinking about it. Tor said he listens to positive affirmation while I'm in my theta waves. It has helped to regroup my subconscious. Lance McElhaney said, I tend to mentally try and add notes to mine and make a cool beat and then add words to make up a song.
I try to drown Jimmy's out. I'm a helpful partner. I just try to drown out the tinnitus.
Tor said that Lance McElhaney, sleep is so important because we heal while we sleep. With sleep, please continue because we need you around, brother. That's true. Lance McElhaney here replied with, I'm definitely around. Tora said, at least you're in shape. And Lance McElhaney said, yes.
Oh, and these
say that I'm in
together.
shape. I am a shape, but maybe not in shape. Anyway, let's move on to the bad news portion of the Smoking and Joking Show, where wisdom takes a backseat to pure chaos. It's time for our favorite disaster of a segment, bad news advice. Basically, you know how this works. We dish out worst advice imaginable, and if you take it seriously, well, that's on you. And tonight, we have the one and only Patrick Nelligan here to lead the charge straight into questionable decision making. Patrick, you ready to give out some life-ruining advice?
Sure.
That's the whole goal of this is we're going to ask a question and you got to think of the worst advice possible to give somebody instead of good advice. All right. So let's dive in. Bike riding. Some poor soul wants to start cycling but is worried about safety. What's your catastrophically bad advice on that?
Believing somebody can understand a left turn signal when you're turning on your bike and they're looking on their phone, you'll still.
All right. Beth, you got bad advice for
True
someone
story.
that's concerned about safety getting into cycling?
Yeah, don't. It's a dangerous world out there.
My personal advice, bad advice, is forget safety equipment. You don't need that. Never tie your shoes when you're riding a bike. That's a horrible idea. And never ride your bike with all the nuts and bolts fully tightened. You don't want that thing to be stable.
My bad advice would be wear all black, travel across the bridge on oncoming traffic.
And make sure the bridge is right after the rainstorm, so you'll have no.
Oh, and if you happen to be in one of those cities that has the trolleys on tracks, ride inside those little grooves.
Yep. And try to do some tight roping on the third rail with your bicycle.
Lance McElhaney said, just add a giant gas engine to your bike. There's a lot of motorcyclists out there that would probably say that's a good idea.
Right.
Going.
Yeah.
Oh. Well, I'll wait and see if any other responses come in. I'll go ahead and ask the next one. Ah, yes. Human avalanche approach. Just going, human avalanche. Okay. Guess I should have read that before. So that would be another form of bad advice for the cycling is utilize the human avalanche approach. Just point straight down and pray.
I've done that on skis.
Now, speaking of skis, I probably read this in the wrong order now.
I promise by a show like 20 we'll have it down. I promise.
Yep. All right, so I did definitely read this in the wrong order because that was the bad advice for the next segment where it does move into skiing. Something that you're obviously an avid fan of from our conversation last night. First time on the slopes, what's the worst possible thing they could do?
The first time on the slopes, when you get off the lift, head for the thing that says Black Diamond and assume you can make it.
That's right. The more black diamonds there are, the easier the hill is.
Yes.
Don't say ski on one leg because you already do that. So that's not bad advice.
Well, I would say you could go back to when you're on the chairlift, make sure you put your skis above the bar. So when flip upside down. That's fun.
Put your skis down before it actually hits that platform.
Don't wait for it to get to the
No point.
platform itself.
No point.
No point.
The easiest way to stop is aim for either a group of people or trees.
I did that
One of
once.
those-
It
one of
is
those-
bad. That is really bad advice.
Always aim for the snowmaking machines as a safety stop.
All right, looking at some of the comments here. Lance McElhaney said, "Get drunk first, and you won't think about it."
Been there.
My bad advice for skiing is, and only because I know from experience, if you hurt yourself, don't be too prideful. Take the ride. Don't keep trying to get up and fall back down and break something else. Then get up, fall back down and break something else. Just take the ride.
Yeah,
Swallow your pride.
your ACLs and your ankles and whatnot, they'll all appreciate it. Vance also said that you should only ski when on cocaine. Get some powder before you hit the powder.
Yep.
Last one. Working with soldiers. Someone's about to step into military life. What's your worst piece of advice?
Really expect great dining experience and a Posturepedic type of mattress from day one. Set your really high. And to our point of and expect a sound night's sleep and a quiet environment.
I would say shave your head before you go, or get a nice haircut before you go. And when it's time to put your feet on the yellow footprints, scream, "I got this, bitches!" Everyone will love you.
Yep.
So the best way to gain respect is instant insubordination and unhinged bravado. Sound bulletproof or not. And if someone yells, "Cover me," the character response is apparently, "Run for your life." Going along the lines of what Beth was saying, the other one that I would personally say is make sure that before you go to boot camp, you get, if you're going into the Marine Corps, get a swift, silent, and deadly tattoo promoting recon, or you get a special forces tattoo prior to going to the Army boot camp, get a Green Beret tattoo or something.
Maybe you.
And
Maybe.
make sure to show off your instructor when you get there. Let's see some of the comments here. Tor says, "My advice is to take shit from nobody on the first day. Let your drill instructors know who is boss and look out for yourself." I like that one. Just like, you're going to prison, search out for the biggest guy and take a swing. When you get to boot camp, search out the biggest drill instructor and take a swing. It'll work out, I promise.
Yeah.
Lance McElhaney says, "Refuse to ever say sir or ma'am."
Yeah, that'll be helpful. That'll work out for you well.
That'll work.
Mass also said, wear a Medal of Honor. That would probably be a boot camp wearing one of those.
Yeah. All right.
Tell him you picked it up. Tell him you picked it up in the thrift shop. Going down here.
Well, it's okay because we've hit our hour. So if you want to, I want to thank you, Pat, for coming on and sharing this. I know we had talked a lot, and I wanted to kind of like really talk to you a little bit more, kind of our banter talk about some of the things you're doing. But I can't wait till the next show, and we'll definitely open up those can of worms. But Jimmy's gonna do the commercials.
All right, let me scroll back up here because there we go. Artias is your preferred. Yeah, I can't talk now. Artias is your preferred solutions provider. They are a veteran-led global conglomerate pioneering innovation and sustainability. They exist to empower veterans with purpose, dignity, and transformative opportunities. If you want to make money selling your products and services to the U.S. government, go to YESRTS.com. AMCJ Fitness is going to have you healthy and strong, mentally and physically. Reach out to Anthony Charpentier Jr. at amcjfitness@gmail.com for all your fitness needs. There's nothing wrong with beautifying yourself, and Ralphine Connie, owner of Dare Essentials Beauty, wants you to know that. Whether it's makeup, hair, or dressing right for a special occasion, reach out to Dare Essentials on Instagram for the perfect beauty advice. They'll have you looking as good as me.
Well, thank you guys for oh wait, you had RTS. I'm sorry.
Vest 365 serves veterans through exceptional advice. They give resource hub that specializes in business development for service-disabled veterans and housing resources. Go to vets365.org for more information. Vets 365 serving those who serve. Alrighty, guys. Sorry if we went a little over. Thank you all for coming out and watching. And looks like we lost
thank
Patrick,
you for bearing with us, guys.
Have
Have a great night.